Welcome to Revoicing the Future, a Women of NAMM podcast, presented by AKG. Just as one revoices a chord, revoicing the future creates a completely new perspective on the invaluable notes that make up the whole. It will uplift women's voices in the music products industry, which have earned their time to be the root of the chord. Once a month, you can catch productive and valuable conversations with women working in manufacturing, retail, the nonprofit sector, music education, touring, and overall women who inspire us. Together, we can help shape the future of our industry, one interval at a time. This podcast is co-produced and edited by Natalie Morrison, Stephanie Lamond, and Julia Olsen.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Revoicing the Future. I'm your co-host, Natalie Morrison, and I'm here with, of course, Steph Lamond. Hi. I'm just going to preface this by saying I am suffering from a sinus infection, so if I don't sound like my normal self, that's why.
It's the subtle difference. I think it sounds worse in your head, than.
This is just, we show up no matter what.
We do. Execute. Yep. The show must go on.
And I feel like that was also a catalyst in our exciting, adventurous recording today with all the technology issues.
Yeah. But hopefully Julia has worked her magic and you won't even be able to tell. We just will have told you that we faced off with the tech gods with Bev today. But we got it. And I love this episode too. So we still did the dang thing.
And right now, as this is live, there's a new class of women participating in the Women of NAMM Leadership Summit as we speak,
including our guest today.
So a big congratulations to the 2025 class of Women of NAMM Leadership Summit attendees and participants.
Woohoo.
We're just very excited that you're going on this journey. So, Steph, who are we talking to today?
Yes, today we are talking to Bev Fowler, Director of Artist and Community Relations at PRS Guitars.
She's awesome. It was awesome. That's all I can say. It was a great conversation. Talking about her career, about why artist relations is not A&R, Steph, and the difference between the two roles.
That was me too.
And yeah, just so cool to hear. She's been in the company for over 20 years. And just her reflections on the industry evolving too as a woman and all of that was really special to hear about that and what's unique about being a woman in artist relations roles and stuff. And yeah, that was cool. Any other thoughts before we send them on in?
Yeah, I think you're going to hear a lot of deep love and connection that she has to the PRS family and how it really is a family. So a big shout out to Paul Reid Smith for cultivating a company culture that's just emulated throughout everything everyone who works for him touches.
Yes.
I'm excited for you all to hear it and just sit back and relax and
enjoy.
We'll see you next time. Woo. Hi, Bev. Welcome to Revoicing the Future. We're so excited to have you join us.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
We always love to begin by having our guests share their journey into music. So can you tell us your story and your path to Director of Artist Relations at PRS Guitars?
Sure. The music industry really wasn't on my wish list of things to do when I grew up. I was actually aspiring to be a physical therapist when I entered into college. And I took a part-time job for an independent rep firm that sold pro audio gear. And I was just kind of helping out with like filing and phones and random tasks in the office. And then after a few months of doing it, I got pretty comfortable in that environment and gained some more responsibilities and ended up going into that full time while I was doing college at night. And then when it came time to get into PT school, there was like a 7-year waiting list. And I kind of threw my hands up and said, I'm not wasting my life waiting around to get into this school. So I decided to just stay where I was. And it turned out to be something I actually really enjoyed. So I did that for about, 10 or 11 years. And then when 9/11 happened, I had just had my first child and I couldn't get to him because I was 2 hours away from home. And he was in daycare and PRS was 2 minutes down the street from my house. And I used to drive by every day. And I was like, why am I making a 2-hour commute when this place is right here and I have experience in the music industry? So 9/11 kind of inspired me to get closer to home and be close to my kid. And there was a job opening for the executive assistant to Paul Reid Smith, which I interviewed for and I got, but I turned it down because it was at the time a lot less money than I was making at the other job. And I just had a baby and I was kind of scared to take that risk. So I kept doing what I was doing. And then about a year and a half later, my phone rang at home, like, the old landlines on the walls.
Yes.
I had caller ID and it was Paul Reid Smith Guitars. And I was like, that's weird. Why are they calling me? So I answered it. And it was the human resources manager at the time. And she said, how would you like to come in for an interview for another job? And I was like, tell me more about the job. And it was the executive assistant to the president. So I was like, well, I would love to, but I'm 5 months pregnant. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out. And she said, oh, don't worry about that because the guy you're going to be working for is expecting his 6th child and he loves kids. So it's just been a wild ride ever since.
So were you working in New York?
No, I was not working in New York. I was actually supposed to be in New York for a convention, but I ended up not going because I had just had a baby and I decided to stay back and we sent some other people. So I was not in New York, but I was in Baltimore. And the factory is right outside of Annapolis. So it was a good hour and a half to 2 hours away. And there's this big Chesapeake Bay bridge that kind of separates my world from everybody else. They closed the bridge. So I couldn't get across the bridge to get to my kid. And that was like, okay, I got to make a change.
Wow. I grew up in New Jersey. So that 9/11 time, I totally understand that feeling of the uncertainty, the unknown, bridges not operating. Yeah.
And that existential reality check of priorities kind of get put in order in a big way with stuff like that.
Yeah. And I was shocked that they called me back, like they had kept my resume on file.
Yeah.
Also, kudos on the maternity leave, that not being an issue either.
Yeah. The welcoming for that's awesome.
Just one of the many things that makes PRS a great place to work.
I love it. So you began at PRS back in 2002 as an executive assistant. Do you feel starting in that role gave you a good high-level primer for every other aspect that you had your hands in that company where you wanted to evolve? And did you always have an idea of what areas you wanted to grow into?
I don't know that I really had a vision when I came here, except for to do my job. The guitar business was very new to me because I was in the pro audio world. So not a lot of instruments. It was more like microphones and speakers and stuff like that. So I was just kind of feeling it out because I just wanted to change. So I would say my role as an executive assistant exposed me to pretty much every asset of the business. And I learned so much early on from all the different departments that I had to interact with. And the artist relations piece kind of stemmed from Paul Smith being so intimately involved in all the relationships that he had with the artists. And it bled into the president's office in many ways. So I began establishing working relationships with artists like Carlos Santana and Mark Tremonti. And it just became part of my everyday. I mean, there was always something I was doing for Paul with an artist to help with the business. So I love doing it, but it wasn't my main job. So I kind of tried to stay in my lane. And then in 2007, Jack Higginbotham, who is now our COO, he was the president at the time. We joke all the time. I tell him he fired me, but he promoted me. So he fired me as his assistant, but I got promoted to run the artist relations department. And I was petrified because I had no experience in that. And I didn't play guitar, so I wasn't sure if I would be able to really relate to the artist on that level. But it was what the business needed. So I just kind of went along with it and turned out I really liked it. And I've been doing it ever since.
I love it. Well, and it's so cool that I feel like it's one of those situations where it sounds like the logistics and the tasks of an artist relations role were the learning thing, but the instinct for it and the relationships and stuff, that was natural. And that's what kind of drew them to probably think you'd be the right fit for that too. I love how you said that. It was great. And then try to stay in your lane. So it's just freeing you to do that. But then you learn the tasks for that. But a natural affinity to a type of role, I feel like is cool to see because there's things that are trainable and things that are kind of just instinct. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Now looking back, do you feel like because you're not a guitar player, you are still able to relate to the artists all these years down the road?
Great question. Yes. I still can't play guitar. I've tried, not for lack of effort, for sure. I've taken lessons. I've blistered my fingers, but I know the guitar. I know the models. I can talk about them. The only struggle I have is if somebody's having a problem with a guitar and I don't have anybody with me that can like replicate the problem by playing it, I'm stuck. But I usually can troubleshoot and figure out whatever's going on just because of the knowledge that I have. And that's, I credit that to Paul Smith because he is such a wonderful teacher. And everything that I know about the guitar is because of Paul.
That's right. So actually, yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that? Because he's so present in y'all's business. So we've been talking recently about long-term relationships like that in a professional sense. And just I guess whatever comes, I'm curious to hear anything like reflections on that after your time with the company too, and having a leader that's so hands-on, right? As you're saying.
He's very present. He's here every day. He's constantly trying to innovate and improve on what we're already doing. And I think that his passion for that, it bleeds down to the employees. So everybody else wants to learn and follow his lead. So I often refer to PRS as my second family.
I love that.
Paul has created such a wonderful workplace that it's fun to come to work, and he makes the job fun because he is so involved and he wants to hear our voices. He asks for input. We agree to disagree sometimes. It's not always his way or the highway. He listens and he takes our suggestions, and it's a very collaborative effort.
Amazing. I love it. Okay. Artist relations. I realized I was putting this together, this instinct to call it A&R, which is not artist relations too. These are completely separate things. So wanted to, for those of us that do not know the difference, can you give us that breakdown of like what makes artist relations that? And then what is A&R?
Of course. Yeah. It's a term that gets misused all the time in the music industry.
Yeah.
So A&R focuses on the discovery and development of music and artists for like a record label or publisher. And A&R kind of acts as a bridge between the talent and the company's goals. So whatever a label's looking for, that's kind of what that person does. Artist relations is a role that manages the relationship between an artist and an organization or a brand like PRS.
That makes perfect sense. So that's cool. Yeah. And then I guess staying in that vein, thinking about partnerships at that point then too, right? And these long relationships you get to build with these artists, and dig into that a little bit about how you do it. And I guess to start somewhere like that, because you have such a spread, like emerging artists, and then you have, like we were pointing out, like the Orianthis and the John Mayers and such. And so I'm imagining there's like a set of core values or like a set of way that you bring to everyone, right? That you probably treat them all similarly at the end of the day, like just making a connection, making a long-term relationship for the company and stuff. But just would love you to walk us through what that looks on your end from the artist relations lens as you kind of begin cultivating or continue to cultivate artist partnerships.
Sure. Our approach is unique to each artist. So, of course, there's core values that we look for in an artist, but it really boils down to tailoring things to address the individual needs of the artist and identifying ways in which they can help our brand. So, it all starts with a relationship, and it's something that we take a lot of pride in. I often compare endorsements to a marriage or a relationship because it's a two-way street. There's a lot of give and take. There's things that we need from the artist. There's things that the artist needs from us. And both parties have something to give. We start to try to identify what all that is and then build the relationship from there.
That's cool. And so what have you found that you love most about it as time has gone by? Like Bev as artist relations, what has come to you that lights you up about the work?
I think just getting to work with so many different types of artists and at so many different levels. I mean, of course, the Carlos Santanas, the John Mayers, the Orianthis, Ori's been with us since she was 15. And to be able to be part of her journey and watch her grow into the musician that she is today has been so rewarding because we've played a part in that.
Yeah.
And then, there's collaboration every single day with different artists, and it varies. So no day is the same in my world.
Yeah.
And I can come in here and think I'm going to knock 10 things out, and I leave and I don't even touch those 10 things because you just never know what's going to be on the other end of the inbox or the phone, you know? I mean, there's artists playing everywhere and they always need something, whether it's just to talk or talk about a new guitar, talk about a guitar that they have that's not doing the job, or a guitar that they might need for a new song that they're recording. So I love that it's not just the same thing day in and day out.
How many people are on your team?
So I do artist relations and community relations. I have public relations underneath me also. So I have 2 in public relations and 5 in artist relations.
Cool.
Pretty small, considering we're a worldwide company.
I feel like that's the beauty of it. Also, like you've cultivated such a strong, small but mighty team.
Yeah, and I am very protective of my small and mighty team. So when they tell me that I need to grow, I'm not always in favor of doing that because we work really well together and we figured out systems that work well for the artists. So I'm not a big proponent of change, but sometimes I have to give in.
Yeah, for sure. So I would really love to learn more about your Pulse Artist program and how it started and why programs like this are important for the future of the music industry and even the future of PRS.
The Pulse Artist program was started because we were getting so many endorsement requests from players that were already invested in the brand, but they just weren't quite at the level at which we could extend a full endorsement. And most of the time, there's many companies at that point will just say, well, we'll just give you artist pricing and go away, right? And there's no relationship. It's just taking care of the artist. But by doing that, you're stealing a customer from a dealer. So we really wanted to figure out a way to continue to utilize our dealer network to foster these artist relationships in a way that ultimately helps to serve as like a stepping stone to a larger endorsement down the road. We really wanted to shine a light on leading regional and emerging artists from around the world who were already using PRS. So we developed it because I wanted to keep those artists playing PRS and make them feel part of something. And it has been a stepping stone for a larger endorsement for a few of those artists that have been part of the program over the last, I think we're on our 6th or 7th year now. And it's also a great way for us to discover new talent. So every year we have a application period. The existing artists from the previous year have to reapply because status changes and we want to see what they're doing and make sure that they're still interested in being part of the program. And it has grown. We try to keep the program pretty intimate, so no more than 100 to 125 artists because we want it to feel special. But I think last year we were in about 31 different countries.
Wow.
So great representation for PRS on a worldwide level, but at a regional and emerging level from an artist standpoint. And the program opens up doors for the artists too, because, their name's on the roster. So that's a great thing for them to have on their resume. Mm-hmm. And there's also consideration for marketing support. So we do a lot of blog posts about what the artists are up to and just kind of put the spotlight on them for a minute, as opposed to the bigger artists that everybody are already aware of. So it's a nice discovery tool for both us and our customers.
Absolutely. So anyone, let's say a group of people made the program last year, they have to reapply again this year to maintain that. Okay. Wow.
The main reason is because you might be part of a band last year when you applied and that band was really on a good trajectory to, emerge and make a difference in a certain region. And then band breaks up. So then what happens to that artist? So we like to keep up on what's happening with them. And I'd say 90% of them return every year.
Wow.
There's probably 60 artists that have been part of the program since the inception, and they're still waving the flag and happy to be part of the program.
Have you had a good turnover of musicians who have been part of the Pulse Artist program who have then graduated to having a full endorsement from PRS?
Yes, not huge numbers because, like I said, we keep the group pretty small.
Yeah.
I think the first year we had 4 that graduated. Last year, I think there was 4. And then we just continue to follow them and promote them as we would any other official artist. So it's been fun to watch the journeys and a lot of these musicians grow. I mean, most of them are DIY, so they're learning a lot about every aspect of becoming a musician from social media to shooting videos, taking photos for ads.
I love that though. I got really excited when I was learning about it because it's very intentional, the work that you're doing, and then even more intentional that you're bringing the dealer network into it as well so that you're helping to support them.
Yeah, the whole ecosystem kind of grows. It's like a sustainable loop. It's a closed loop, right? Everything is feeding itself and it's kind of like growing together in that sense.
Yeah, and it's great because the dealers, they'll go on social media and, promote the artist. The artist will give them shout outs. And I always say, I mean, it's like finding a needle in a haystack, but you never know when, say, the next John Mayer is going to walk into a music store and they're 15 years old. And then 20 years later, that dealer can say, hey, he shopped here.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, and creating the spaces for that. I love it. So we started on this a little bit when you talked about how you even got your first role, but we always like to kind of dig into a little bit how our identities as women intersect with these roles and how and all of that. And it just started off on such a kick, right? Of like, it was immediately welcomed that you were 5 months pregnant and they were like, come on in. So just from there, I'm curious, any reflections over the course of watching the industry evolve too in the last however many years, like how that was and the ways that that played into your career, the ways it absolutely didn't. And yeah, just any thoughts looking back on all of that.
Yeah. My identity as a woman has definitely influenced how I've navigated my role in artist endorsements, artist relations. Early on, it often felt like the rooms I was in, whether it was artists, managers, or executives, were heavily male dominated. And that required me to build confidence in my voice and perspective. So over the years, I've seen the industry start to shift. More women are holding leadership positions and more female artists are being celebrated for their musicianship rather than just their marketability. And there's a stronger conversation about representation and inclusivity overall, I think. And one reflection I've had is that women often bring a very relationship-centered approach to endorsements. So I guess for me, that's why it was a natural fit. It's never really been about the transaction, if you will. It's about building trust and long-term relationships with the artist. And I think that perspective or approach has resonated with the artists who want authenticity with their brand connections. I still think there's a lot of challenges. I think that the evolution of the industry has created more space for women to lead and influence, not just behind the scenes, but also in shaping the culture of how endorsements and artist relations are handled. And that's something that I'm very proud to contribute to.
Can you share too some of those reflections on the times that you talk about needing to get kind of that stronger backbone, right? To show up in these spaces and speak up more, be a bigger presence, right? So as you were learning to do that, what helped you? I guess thinking of someone that might be in that position now, trying to shore themselves up to just power through it.
I mean, I think a lot of it's personality based. I'm pretty strong-willed, so you're not going to beat me down. And that's not the case for all women, especially if you're intimidated and around a room that's filled with a bunch of men. But I think if you stay true to yourself and you just dig deep and have the confidence that you're equal and you can do it just as good as they can, you're going to earn the respect because you're not going to back down. And I think that the level of respect that I have earned from the artists that I work with over the years has helped to keep me confident in what I'm doing.
In just a few weeks, you're going to be attending the Women of NAMM Leadership Summit. And we usually talk to people after they've participated, but I'm really eager to see how you're feeling heading into the experience and what you're most looking forward to and hope to get out of your experience.
Well, first, I'm truly honored to have been selected to participate in the Women of NAMM Summit. And I'm very excited for the opportunity to connect with some incredible women in the industry. I'm really looking forward to learning from Dr. Jennifer Hall and gaining new leadership insights that I can bring back and put into practice in my role here at PRS. It's just an exciting opportunity to grow personally and professionally for me.
Yeah, Nat, any words of wisdom having done it too, or going in, what one should prepare or be ready for?
I think just go in with an open heart and an open mind. You literally don't know. You think you know what you're going to get yourself into and then you don't. Right? So just kind of let the process take you where it takes you. And you're going to leave with some really amazing, deep connections and insights about yourself.
I can't wait. Just all the stuff that you had to do preparing for the summit. I was like, wow, I'm learning a lot about myself because I had to answer all these questions. And then having all your peers rate you too. I'm really excited to see how that all comes out.
Yeah, because you don't see those answers until you get there.
And you don't know who said what, but if there's any consistency in the ratings, that's going to tell me a lot, and I think it's a great opportunity for me to grow and become a better leader.
I love it. I'm going to email you afterwards because I want to see what you think.
Okay.
I'm invested. I'm invested in your experience.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I love it. All right, let's go back. Your passion for giving back is very evident, and it's interesting to see how you've combined that through PRS. So could you talk to us about how you've leveraged other companies to compound the work that we can do in the world with your philanthropic arm?
Thank you. That's something I really care about. I've always believed that companies like PRS have a unique platform to do more than just make great instruments. We can be a force for good too. So when you align your business with giving back, the impact is very profound because you can combine resources, visibility, and a community feel. And through my community relations role at PRS, we've seen that when we support causes, whether it's through philanthropy or benefit concerts or sponsorships or just random programs that invest in music education, it resonates with our artists and our employees and our customers. And it kind of creates this ripple effect where everyone feels like they're part of something bigger than just the product.
Such a good point.
Yeah. And for me, it's just being intentional, like asking how the work we do every day can exist or extend beyond the music industry and make a difference in people's lives. And I think when you combine personal passion with a company's reach, that's when you can really start to move the needle.
Well, and that reminds me, we wanted to ask about you do board advisory stuff too. Like it's such a melding of you on behalf of PRS too. So how have you melded your own passions and what's that like to be doing board service and stuff at the same time of all this?
Being on that board is so educational because it's just a group of doctors and donors. And like I'm learning all kinds of things about cancer and the progress in medicine and finding a cure. And just being able to have a seat at that table is such an honor. And being able to give back from PRS and making a meaningful difference in the lives of cancer patients and families is incredibly rewarding on a personal and professional level. And having an association with such a renowned institution like Johns Hopkins aligns very closely with the values and mission of PRS as a company. So again, it's just one of those natural fits. Honestly, one of the favorite parts of my job is when I get to go out and do that kind of stuff, the giving and making a difference, because you feel it instantly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Just part of what we're doing with your artist relations stuff too every day, right? You're making a difference too in these artists' lives. There's so much of that meaning across all of it, just alignment and authenticity. That's so special to see you doing it. That's cool when we see people able to do all that. So in one place.
Yep. Paul plays a big part in that too.
It's nice to see that investment too, that everyone is invested in that, right?
Yeah, I mean, we do golf tournaments for Hopkins and he's out there riding the golf carts and saying hi to people. And
that's awesome. I love that. So this year marks the 40th anniversary of PRS. And I got to see the Museum of Making Music exhibit that you launched this year, which I loved. I thought it was so fascinating.
That was such a fun project to work on.
And the story of the birds and what they all mean, like I didn't know any of that. So that was just the coolest thing. So could you talk to us about what it's been like to plan activations and partnerships around this milestone? And what are you looking forward to now and for the future 40 years of PRS to come?
Well, it's been fun. It's been a very fun and rewarding experience for me and the company. We kicked off 2025 with an anniversary party in Anaheim, which was unforgettable. The energy from both the artist and the audience really reminded me of the incredible community that Paul has built over the years. We've launched several limited edition 40th anniversary products throughout this year so far, and I think there's a few more to come. And just finding creative ways to honor the company has been such a fun part of my job. The museum being one of them, and we've done another museum here in Annapolis where Paul started the business. So those two museums were kind of happening at the same time, which was challenging, but it was also fun to try to work pieces of both spaces into the vision.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just overall being able to contribute to celebrating Paul's vision and legacy makes me feel proud and inspired and exciting for what's next for PRS. And I'm not sure what that is, but I'm sticking around to see it.
And you've invested yourself in this company for over 20 years too.
Yeah, it's part celebrating your work too. That's right.
Yeah, it's been an incredible ride. And I honestly think that this is where my career will end. I don't know when that is, but I don't plan on going anywhere. PRS is, I've said it, it's a great place to work. Paul is super passionate, which bleeds down into all of us. And we joke because it's like the factory is often described as like the Willy Wonka chocolate factory of guitars. And I'll never forget years ago, somebody came in and did a tour and they were leaving and there was a worm like on the sidewalk and most people would step over it or step on it. And that guy picked it up and he said, there's so much care going on in this building right now. I have to take care of this worm. And like that just like resonated with me with what kind of place it is to work. So
it makes me want to cry a little bit. That's gorgeous. That's so beautiful.
But you feel it. When you come into this building, you definitely feel it. And I think that the people that work here, it's not just a job. It's their passion and they care and you can see it day in and day out.
That's so special. Worth celebrating for sure.
Well, we have one final question for you, which is Steph's favorite question that we always ask our guests.
I was going to wait and see if you want to jump in, but I love that you've teed me up again too. So yes, our favorite one, other than the whole reason we're here, but just who's Bev outside of PRS? Like what brings you joy? What makes you curious? What do you love doing when you leave the office and when you are not in guitar land?
I'd say being a mom and being a wife. I mean, my family is the family away from my work. I've got two. Yeah, it's my family,
Your
and
family.
And PRS. I have a wonderful husband and two adult children now who are my absolute heart and soul. They've been extremely supportive of my career and busy schedule that has challenged my work and life balance. And there are times where it's tough, where I have to go away for long trips. And when they were younger, it was really hard. But now that they're older, I think they kind of share the passion that I have with PRS. I mean, they come in here and everybody knows them. And my daughter calls Paul and tells him about stuff that's going on in her life. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
It's my family.
That's really special. I love that. And it's reminding me probably what, and I bet Nat, you experience this a little bit too, just when we have parents that have to travel a ton. Like I've had a lot of crossover, I guess, with some of the folks in the backline team too, around like touring families. There's a little energy of that where when you're in music, no matter what your role is, there's a lot of travel and everything. And we just kind of make do. Like the families shift and evolve and we get our rhythms down and there's a nuance to it, but it's also really special to share. It's like a micro culture of a way to be a family, weirdly, in music when that's part of it.
Yeah. I'm guilty of getting so caught up in my work at times, especially when I'm traveling or I'm doing an event. Like I'm super focused and like, oh, wait, I better call my family. But they're always there for me. They're always cheering me on. They're encouraging me to pursue new opportunities, regardless of the impact that it has on them. So it's a nice little package I've got.
I love. That makes me happy. Thanks for sharing.
Bev, thank you so much. Thank you for all that you do for the music industry and the legacy that you're leaving.
Oh,
and
thank you.
We're so grateful to have had you on to share your story and inspire more women.
It's a pleasure. And I actually don't look at it as a responsibility or a job. It's just what I do. It's what we do here at PRS.
Love
and
it.
If what we're doing can help inspire other women to follow their dreams and be confident and go into a male-dominated industry, then we've made a difference.
100%. Thanks, Bev.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Revoicing the Future. You can subscribe to the podcast on all major streaming platforms or visit our website. Be sure to follow us on social media to stay up to date on all things Women of NAMM. This episode was co-produced and edited by Natalie Morrison, Stephanie Lamond, and Julia Olsen. Together, we can help shape the future of our industry, one interval at a time. See you next time.